I always tried my best at my job. I'm a dedicated and competent analyst, but that never seemed to be enough for my boss, Mr. Thompson. He constantly made nasty comments about my appearance, often in front of my colleagues, which left me deeply embarrassed and unmotivated. I remember one time during a meeting he said, "Kate, maybe if you spend as much time on your work as you do on your hair, we'd have better results." Everyone laughed, but I felt a lump in my throat. These public humiliations ate at me inside, but I couldn't afford to let it show. I needed to maintain my professional attitude and continue delivering results. It was in this context that Mark, a brilliant analyst and equally a victim of Mr. Thompson's arrogance, approached me. He noticed my anguish and, during a coffee break, made a point of approaching me. "Kate, can I talk to you for a minute?" he asked, with a worried look. "Of course, Mark. Did something happen?" I replied, trying to hide my own distress. "I just wanted to let you know that you're not alone. I also suffer from Mr. Thompson's actions. I know how difficult it is to deal with, but maybe we can help each other." Those words were an unexpected relief. Finally, someone understood what I was going through. Mark and I started talking more frequently, sharing our frustrations and, little by little, creating a bond of solidarity. He told me about the times Mr. Thompson ridiculed him for his innovative ideas, only to present them as his own. He even said that my ideas were too futuristic and that I should keep my feet on the ground. 2 weeks later, he presented my project to the board as if it were his. "It was a hard blow," confessed Mark, visibly slaughtered. These conversations strengthened us. Together, we began to devise a plan to reverse the situation. Mark suggested that I document all of Mr. Thompson's offenses, something he had been doing for some time. We decided to gather evidence not only of the humiliations, but also of the management failures that harmed the team. "We need to be careful, Kate. Any mistake could put our careers at risk, but I'm willing to take that risk if you're with me," Mark stated with determination. I agreed. We knew it wouldn't be easy, but the idea of exposing the truth and, who knows, improving the work environment for everyone gave us the strength to continue. Little by little, we collected testimonies from colleagues who also suffered at the hands of Mr. Thompson. Some were reluctant, fearing reprisals, but others saw in us a chance for change and decided to collaborate. It was hard, meticulous work, but each new piece of evidence gave us more confidence. Being close to Mark has not only made us allies, but also friends. He always had a word of encouragement in the most difficult times. "We'll do it, Kate. The truth is on our side," he said, with an encouraging smile. I also started to feel stronger and more determined. Mr. Thompson's humiliation still hurt, but now I had a greater purpose. I knew that, in the end, justice would prevail. And, most importantly, I knew I wasn't alone. This solidarity between us was what kept me going. Each meeting, each new insult from Mr. Thompson, was an opportunity to document and strengthen our case. In every step of the way, Mark was there by my side, ready to face the challenge together. Tired of the constant humiliation, I decided it was time to act. I could no longer allow Mr. Thompson to continue treating me that way, neither to me nor to my colleagues. The feeling of helplessness and the heartache I carried in my chest needed to be transformed into something productive, something that could really make a difference. It was then that I began to document all of Mr. Thompson's insults, both those directed at me and those directed at other colleagues. I knew I would need concrete evidence to combat someone so cunning. Mark, always supportive and also a victim of Mr. Thompson's tyrannical attitudes, readily offered to help. "Kate, we can't stay silent any longer. Every nasty comment, every humiliation, needs to be recorded. Together, we can do something," he said, with determination in his eyes. From that day on, we started working in secret. We created a meticulous system of recording every abusive email, every nasty comment, every meeting where he ridiculed us. Everything was written down and archived. We also spoke discreetly to other colleagues to see if they were willing to share their own experiences. The response was surprising. Many were equally tired and wanted to see a change. "We have to be careful," warned Mark. Any slip-up and he could find out what we're doing. And then our careers are at risk. I agreed, aware of the dangers but determined to move forward. Mark, we can no longer allow him to continue this tyranny. We need to be strategic, and most importantly, we need to be strong. The process of collecting evidence was exhausting, but with each new piece of evidence, we felt like we were one step closer to exposing the truth. Once, during a meeting, Mr. Thompson made a particularly cruel comment about my appearance. "Kate, do you really think anyone is going to take a performance you give seriously?" he said, laughing. I felt my blood boil, but I remained calm. I looked at Mark, who was next to me, and he discreetly made a gesture of support. We knew this would be crucial for our documentation. Over time, we realized that it was not enough to just gather evidence, we needed a plan to get everything out in the right way, ensuring we would be heard and taken seriously. Mark, with his analytical skills, helped structure a detailed dossier, which included not only Mr. Thompson's offenses, but also the management failures that compromised the team's efficiency. Our approach needs to be objective and professional, Mark suggested. We must show not only the abusive behavior, but how it directly affects the company's performance. And so we did. In the silence of our homes, often working late into the night, we constructed a presentation that had the potential to shake the company's structures. We were aware that any mistake could put us in an even worse situation, but the prospect of justice was enough to keep us motivated. With each step, our confidence grew. The support I received from Mark and other colleagues who joined the cause was essential. I realized that I was not alone in this fight, and that gave me the strength to continue. We were determined to do justice and transform that work environment into a dignified place for everyone. Finally, with the dossier complete and the presentation ready, we felt we were ready to take the next step. The arrival of Clara, the new Human Resources Director, seemed like the perfect opportunity to bring everything to light. But that's a story for another time. By now, it was clear that the decision to act, to no longer accept the humiliation and to face Mr. Thompson, was the beginning of a turnaround that would change our lives and the dynamics of the company forever. When Clara arrived at the company as the new Director of Human Resources, I felt a mixture of hope and skepticism. I had heard about his impressive credentials, but at the same time, so many promises of change had been made before, only to be quickly forgotten. However, something about Clara seemed different. She had a direct manner and a firm posture that inspired confidence. It was Mark who first suggested that I talk to her about Mr. Thompson's constant humiliation. "Kate, this is our chance," Mark said with a gleam of determination in his eyes. "Clara seems like someone who really cares. We have to tell her what's going on." I was hesitant. It wasn't easy to open up about something so painful and humiliating. But at the same time, I was tired of living in that toxic atmosphere. So, I decided that the time had come to act. With Mark by my side, we set up a meeting with Clara. On the day of the meeting, my heart was beating fast. When we entered Clara's office, she greeted us with a welcoming smile, but at the same time, she wore a serious expression that showed she was ready to listen and act. "Kate, Mark, thanks for coming. What do you have to tell me?" Clara began, gesturing for us to sit down. I took a deep breath and began to recount all the humiliations that Mr. Thompson put me through. Every mean comment, every cruel joke about my appearance, every time he belittled me in front of my colleagues. Mark also shared his own experiences, detailing how Mr. Thompson treated him with disdain and disrespect. Clara listened attentively, writing down everything. When we finished, she was silent for a moment, absorbing the information. "This is unacceptable," she said finally, her voice firm. "No one should be treated this way in the workplace." "Kate, Mark, do you have any evidence of these situations?" We exchanged a knowing look and then handed her the dossier we had compiled. Emails, messages, testimonies from other colleagues. Clara leafed through the papers, visibly impressed. "You guys did a great job documenting all of this," she said. "Kate, are you willing to file a complaint against Mr. Thompson?" I knew this was a crucial decision. Formalizing the report could mean a huge risk to my career, but it could also be the only way to end the abuse. I looked at Mark, who gave me an encouraging smile, and then turned my eyes to Clara. "Yes, I'm willing," I replied, voice firm. Clara nodded and made some final notes. "Very well, Kate. We will proceed with the formal complaint. And I want you to know that you have my full support. This will not be easy, but it is the right thing to do." As I left Clara's room, I felt a huge weight lifted from my shoulders. For the first time in a long time, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. Mark put his hand on my shoulder and smiled. "You were amazing in there, Kate. This is just the beginning. Let's do it justice." From that day on, I felt an inner change. I was no longer alone. With Clara by my side and Mark as my ally, I was ready to face any challenge. Mr. Thompson did not yet know what was coming, but his era of tyranny was about to end. This was just the beginning of something much bigger. As Mr. Thompson began to notice that I was more confident and less submissive, the tension in the office increased every day. He couldn't understand what had changed, but he clearly didn't like what he was seeing. In a desperate attempt to maintain his control, he began assigning me impossible tasks and absurd deadlines, hoping to see me fail. "Kate, I need these reports reviewed and ready by tomorrow morning," he ordered in a tone that almost brimmed with malice. "But, Mr. Thompson, this would normally take at least 3 days to do properly," I replied, remaining calm. "I don't care what you think. Just do it," he replied, with a sarcastic smile. I knew he was trying to sabotage me, but I wasn't going to let it get me down. With Mark's help, I was able to manage my time and resources efficiently. Mark was a true genius at data analysis and always had a clever solution to any problem that arose. "Kate, I reviewed these reports for you. I think we can optimize the graphs to make them clearer," Mark suggested, handing me a stack of papers. "Thank you, Mark. I don't know what I would do without you," I replied, genuinely grateful. "We're in this together, don't forget," he smiled, showing a support that became essential to me. Every obstacle Mr. Thompson placed in our path was overcome with resilience and intelligence. Meanwhile, the dynamics at the office began to change. My coworkers noticed that I was no longer the same submissive person I was before. They noticed my growing confidence and, little by little, they began to line up at my side. "Kate, you have been a true inspiration," commented Sarah, a colleague in the marketing department, over coffee. "Thanks, Sarah. I'm just trying to do what's right," I replied, feeling a wave of support that gave me even more strength. Mr. Thompson, of course, was not happy. His frustration was evident in every meeting, every interaction. He tried to discredit me at every opportunity, but the more he tried, the clearer it became to everyone that the problem wasn't me, but him. "Kate, those numbers are wrong. How can you be so incompetent?" he shouted in a meeting. "Actually, Mr. Thompson, I have reviewed these numbers 3 times. And if I may, I believe the error may lie in the original source of the data," I replied, maintaining my composure. My colleague's eyes turned to Mr. Thompson, who was visibly disconcerted. Tensions in the workplace were at an all-time high, but I knew I was on the right path. Mark and I continued to work on our revolutionary project, which had the potential to transform the company's productivity. Our brainstorming sessions were intense and productive, each idea fueling the next. "Kate, what if we integrate this new predictive analytics tool? It could really streamline our processes," Mark suggested, his eyes shining with excitement. "That's brilliant, Mark. Let's incorporate that into our model," I agreed, excited about the direction our project was taking. Meanwhile, Clara, the new human resources director, continued her investigation. She was taking statements and building a solid case against Mr. Thompson. The environment at the company was changing, and I could sense that a major upheaval was about to happen. In each meeting, I remained firm and confident. The shift in power dynamics was palpable, and my coworkers were beginning to see the real Mr. Thompson, an incompetent leader who hid behind humiliation and manipulation. "Kate, we're all rooting for you," said John, another colleague, as I prepared for the crucial meeting. "Thank you, John. I'll do my best," I replied, feeling the weight of responsibility but also the strength of the support that surrounded me. The battle was far from over, but I knew I was closer than ever to transforming that situation and showing everyone what I was really capable of. From the beginning, I knew that the journey here would not be easy, but with each passing day, my determination only increased. Mark and I were deeply involved in a revolutionary project that could radically transform the company's productivity. With each meeting, with each brainstorm, we felt that we were breaking new and promising ground. Kate, have you thought about how this new methodology can reduce response time by up to 40%? Mark asked me, his eyes shining with excitement. Yes, Mark, and more than that, I believe we can integrate this approach with our current platform to further optimize results, I replied, feeling the excitement grow. We worked tirelessly, often pulling all-nighters, to ensure every detail was perfect. Every graph, every slide in the presentation was meticulously reviewed. We wanted it to be unquestionable, something that no one could ignore or belittle. Meanwhile, Clara, the new Human Resources Director, continued her investigation. She was keen to gather statements from other employees who, like Mark and myself, had suffered at the hands of Mr. Thompson. With each new statement, the web of moral harassment he wove became more evident. Clara, here's another statement, said her assistant, handing over a folder full of reports. Thank you. Let's do justice, Clara replied firmly. The tension in the workplace was palpable. Mr. Thompson was beginning to realize that something was changing. He saw in me a new confidence, a resistance that before he could break with his mean jokes and impossible tasks. Kate, I need you to finish this analysis in 2 hours, he said, in that tone of voice I'd grown to hate. Of course, Mr. Thompson, I replied, not letting on how much he irritated me. With Mark's help, I overcame each of these challenges, showing resilience and intelligence. With each step taken, I felt the growing support of my colleagues. They noticed the shift in power dynamics and began to believe that it was possible to resist Mr. Thompson's humiliations. Hey, Kate, I hear you're doing a great job with that new project, said Anna, a colleague from another department. Thank you, Anna. We're all working hard on this, I replied, feeling empowered by the recognition. Finally, the day of the decisive meeting arrived. I was nervous but determined. Mark and I reviewed our presentation one more time before entering the conference room. We're ready, Kate. You're going to rock it, Mark said, with an encouraging smile. Thanks, Mark. Let's do this, I replied, feeling a surge of confidence. The presentation began. Every slide, every statistic, every argument was carefully crafted to show the transformative potential of our project. I could see the immediate impact on the board members' faces. They were impressed. This is truly revolutionary, Kate. How has no one thought of this before? Asked one of the directors. I believe it's a matter of looking at problems from a new perspective, I replied, trying to maintain my composure. Mr. Thompson, on the other hand, was visibly uncomfortable. When it was his turn to speak, he tried to discredit my competence, but Clara intervened. I would like to take this opportunity to present some evidence of bullying and the formal complaints we have received, said Clara, placing a stack of documents on the table. The room fell silent. The board was stunned by the amount of evidence against Mr. Thompson. He could no longer deny his management failures. The atmosphere was tense, but I felt a sense of justice being done. Kate, your work is exceptional. Let's adopt your design, said the company president, addressing me with a smile. That moment was a watershed moment. I finally felt respected and valued. The battle was far from over, but this was a big step in the right direction. And I knew that with Mark and Clara's support, we could make the workplace a better place for everyone. Mr. Thompson, desperate to maintain his control, tries to discredit me before the board. Claiming that I was not competent enough to lead such an important project was just one of their many attempts to undermine my trust and reputation. He did this surreptitiously, during an informal meeting with some of the directors, casting doubt on my capabilities and insinuating that my success until then was the result of chance or external help. I learned about this attempt from Mark, who had a well-established network of contacts within the company. Kate, we need to talk, he said, calling me into an empty meeting room. "Mr. Thompson is spreading the word that you are not competent to lead the project. He is trying to undermine you in every way." "I'm not surprised, Mark. He's always tried to bring me down. But now we have something he can't ignore, evidence," I replied, trying to remain calm. And it was exactly at that moment that Clara entered the scene. Clara had already advanced in her investigation into the bullying complaints and was prepared to act. She called a board meeting and, to Mr. Thompson's surprise, presented all the evidence of bullying and the formal complaints she had received from me and other employees. "Gentlemen, we have a serious situation on our hands. Mr. Thompson's behavior has not only damaged team morale, but has also compromised productivity and the integrity of the work environment," Clara said firmly. Mr. Thompson, visibly nervous, tried to defend himself. "These allegations are exaggerated. Kate has never demonstrated the ability to lead a project of such magnitude. She is inexperienced." At that moment, Clara gave me the floor. "Gentlemen, I would like to present the evidence we have gathered. And, most importantly, I would like to share the project I have been working on with Mark, which has the potential to transform our company's productivity." The board, realizing the seriousness of the accusations and the seriousness with which Clara was conducting the investigation, decided to give me a chance to present my project at the next official company meeting. The tension was palpable, but I knew this was my opportunity to finally prove myself and expose Mr. Thompson's true colors. In the days leading up to the meeting, Mark and I worked tirelessly to prepare every detail of the presentation. We rehearsed several times, adjusting graphs, reviewing data and fine-tuning our arguments. Clara gave us all the support we needed, ensuring that we would have the right platform and time to showcase our work. The morning of the meeting, I was nervous but determined. Mark gave me an encouraging smile. "You're going to kill it, Kate. They have no idea what's coming." I entered the meeting room with my head held high. The room was full, with all directors and managers present. Mr. Thompson was sitting in the back, with a disdainful expression. I took a deep breath and began my presentation. "Good morning, everyone. Today, I want to share with you a project that Mark and I developed, which we believe will be a game changer for our company." I began, and continued detailing each aspect of the revolutionary project, highlighting how it could benefit the company in terms of productivity, efficiency and profit. As I spoke, I could see the expressions of surprise and approval on the directors' faces. They were impressed. When I finished, the room erupted in applause. It was a moment of pure satisfaction. Clara then took the floor again. Kate's presentation not only demonstrates her competence and dedication, but also highlights the need for leaders who promote a healthy and productive work environment. The evidence of bullying is clear and unquestionable. Mr. Thompson tried to interrupt but was silenced by the company president. "Mr. Thompson, the evidence against you is irrefutable. Your management has harmed our team and our company. It will be necessary to take immediate action to correct this." The board decided to remove Mr. Thompson from his position and gave me the opportunity to officially lead the project. The feeling of justice finally being done was indescribable. Mark was next to me, smiling from ear to ear. "Kate, you did this." "We did this," Mark said as he hugged me. "Yes, we did. And that was just the beginning of a new era for the company and, mainly, for all of us who fight for a fairer and more respectful work environment." On the day of the decisive meeting, I was a whirlwind of emotions. On the one hand, I felt an unwavering determination to finally prove myself and expose Mr. Thompson's flaws. On the other hand, nervousness consumed me, and I knew I couldn't fail. Mark noticed my tension as we waited outside the meeting room. "Kate, you have everything under control. Our presentation is perfect and you know it. Trust yourself," he said, trying to reassure me. "I know, Mark. I just can't help the butterflies in my stomach. But thank you for being by my side," I replied, trying to smile. When we were finally called, I took a deep breath and entered the room with my head held high. There were all the directors of the company and, of course, Mr. Thompson, with that disdainful look that I knew so well. He had no idea what was coming. I started the presentation with a clear and concise introduction to the project that Mark and I had developed. Each slide was meticulously crafted to highlight the benefits and innovation that our proposal would bring to the company. As I spoke, I saw signs of approval and genuine interest on the directors' faces. "Gentlemen, our project will not only increase productivity by 30%, it will also reduce operating costs by 20%, I continued, pointing to the graphs that proved our estimates. Suddenly Mr. Thompson tried to interrupt. "This is a waste of resources. Kate doesn't have enough experience to lead something of this size. Furthermore, these numbers are unrealistic," he said, with a tone of contempt. Before I could respond, Clara, the new Human Resources Director, intervened. "Mr. Thompson, I believe everyone here is more interested in hearing the details of the project than in personal comments. Kate, please continue." I thanked him with a nod and continued. I explained each technical, financial and operational aspect of the project, highlighting the implementation steps and expected results. The directors asked pertinent questions, and I answered them with confidence, showing my mastery of the subject. When I finished, the room was silent for a few seconds. Then the Director General, Mr. Harrison, broke the silence. "Kate, your presentation was exceptional. It's clear that you and Mark put a lot of work and dedication into this. I'm impressed." Mr. Thompson, visibly uncomfortable, tried once again to discredit my work. "This is all well and good on paper, but in practice it's a different story. And honestly, I doubt Kate can lead something of this magnitude." Before Clara could intervene again, I took the floor. "Mr. Thompson, with all due respect, I believe that what is at issue here is not my ability, but rather the viability and benefits of the project for the company. And, as we have seen, the data speaks for itself." Clara took the moment to expose the evidence we had gathered about Mr. Thompson's mismanagement. "Additionally, gentlemen, I would like to share some important information. We have received several complaints of bullying and have documented several management failures that have harmed the team. This evidence has been corroborated by several employees." The directors looked at each other, clearly surprised and worried. Mr. Harrison asked to speak again. "Mr. Thompson, the allegations are serious and the evidence appears substantial. We need time to analyze all of this. For now, Kate's presentation speaks for itself. Let's move forward with the project." I felt a mixture of relief and euphoria. We had done it. Not only was our project accepted, but we also exposed Mr. Thompson's flaws in an irrefutable manner. When we left the room, Mark hugged me, sharing my happiness. "You were amazing, Kate." "I knew we could do it," he said, smiling. "Thank you, Mark. It wouldn't have been possible without you." "Now, I just have to wait and see how everything turns out," I replied, finally feeling that all the effort and sacrifice were worth it. The board made a decision shortly after my presentation. Clara announced that she would begin a restructuring process at the company to ensure a more respectful and professional work environment. The news spread quickly through the halls, and everyone was curious to see how the changes would be implemented. A few days later, Clara called a general meeting with all employees. It was the first time I would see Mr. Thompson after the performance. The tension in the air was palpable. Clara started the meeting by explaining the importance of a healthy and productive work environment. She mentioned that the company would no longer tolerate abusive behavior and that measures would be taken to correct management failures. "Kate, could you please stand up?" Clara asked, looking directly at me. I stood up, feeling all eyes on me. Clara continued, "Kate had the courage to come forward with evidence of bullying and management failures that were harming our team. Thanks to her, we are beginning this process of change." Mr. Thompson, who was sitting at the back of the room, seemed uneasy. Clara then turned to him and said, "Mr. Thompson, do you have anything to say?" He stood up slowly, clearly uncomfortable. I would like to apologize to Kate and all employees who were in any way harmed by my actions and comments. I recognize that my behavior was inappropriate and I am sincerely sorry." The room was silent for a few seconds. I did not expect to hear a public apology from Mr. Thompson. It was a moment of validation for me and for everyone who had suffered in silence. Clara continued, "In addition, there will be other significant management changes. We want to ensure that everyone here feels valued and respected. We will implement training programs and create safe channels for complaints and suggestions." After the meeting, several colleagues came up to me to express their support and gratitude. Mark was one of the first. "Kate, you were incredible. Your courage made all the difference," he said, with a sincere smile. "I couldn't have done it without you, Mark." "Your support was essential," I replied, feeling a huge weight lifted from my shoulders. In the days that followed, the atmosphere at the company began to change. There was a renewed feeling of hope and positivity. Clara, with her firm and fair leadership, implemented a series of changes that really started to make a difference. One of the first measures was the creation of an ethics committee, made up of employees from different departments, to ensure that everyone had an active voice in the company. Workshops on respect in the workplace and effective communication were also held. Mr. Thompson, in turn, was transferred to a different department, where he would no longer have direct influence over the team. The company made it clear that it would no longer tolerate behavior like his. I finally felt respected and valued. I gained the respect of my peers and also a new perspective on my own worth. Clara called me for a private conversation a few days after the general meeting. "Kate, I am truly impressed by your determination and courage. I would like to offer you a leadership position within the company. I believe you have a lot to contribute and I want you to be part of our new management team," she said, with a smile encouraging. I gratefully accepted the offer. I knew it was an opportunity to continue making a difference and ensure that no one else had to go through what I and so many others went through. Mark was also promoted, and together we began working on new projects that could transform the company. I looked back and realized how much I had grown and learned from the entire experience. The restructuring led by Clara truly transformed corporate culture, creating an environment where talent and ethics were truly valued. Finally, I found the peace and respect I always deserved. From the beginning of my journey at the company, I was the target of mean jokes from Mr. Thompson, my boss. His comments about my appearance were a constant, undermining my self-confidence and making me question my worth. However, I always gave my best effort to my work, despite the humiliations. That's when Mark, a talented analyst and coworker who had also suffered at the hands of Mr. Thompson, approached me. Together, we share our frustrations and join forces to overcome challenges. After months of planning, we were finally able to expose Mr. Thompson's flaws and bring significant change to the company. The restructuring led by Clara, the new human resources director, transformed the corporate culture and created a more respectful and professional work environment. And, to my surprise and delight, I was promoted to a leadership position. The promotion was an important milestone in my career. I felt that, finally, all my effort and resilience were being recognized. Mark, who was always by my side, became my right-hand man. He was a valuable ally, always bringing innovation and continuous improvements to the company. I remember the first meeting I led as a leader. I was nervous, but also determined to show that I was ready for the challenge. Mark was sitting next to me, offering his silent support. When I entered the meeting room, I felt all eyes on me. I took a deep breath and began. "Good morning, everybody. Today, we have the opportunity to discuss some strategies that can truly transform our productivity and efficiency." As I spoke, I could see the admiration in my colleagues' eyes. I knew many of them were skeptical at first, but as I presented my ideas, I felt their confidence growing. Mark intervened at several points, complementing my explanations with valuable insights. "Kate, I think it would be interesting to highlight the potential impact of this new approach on our quarterly results," he suggested. "Excellent point, Mark," I replied, feeling grateful for his intervention. With this new strategy, we expect a significant increase in our profit margin, as well as an improvement in customer satisfaction. At the end of the meeting, I received several compliments and words of encouragement. Clara, who was present, came to me and said, "Kate, You did an incredible job. I am very proud of you." As time passed, the restructuring promoted by Clara began to show results. Corporate culture has changed radically, and ethics and talent have become truly valued. Every day was a new opportunity for growth and learning. Mark and I worked tirelessly to implement new ideas and optimize processes. Our partnership was a perfect combination of strategic vision and practical execution. He was my confidant, my advisor, and, above all, a true friend. Together, we face challenges and celebrate achievements. One day, during a coffee break, Mark said to me, "Kate, I never imagined we would get this far. I remember when we were documenting Mr. Thompson's offenses, it seemed like an unwinnable battle." "And we won, Mark," I replied, smiling. "Thanks to our teamwork and our determination, we managed to transform the company and our lives." The promotion was not just a personal victory, but a symbol of triumph over adversity. Each challenge overcome, each obstacle overcome, made me stronger and more confident. I am grateful every day for Mark's support and Clara's visionary leadership. Together, we built a company where respect and ethics are the basis of everything. Today, I look back and see how much I have grown. Mr. Thompson's humiliations are a distant memory, replaced by the pride and satisfaction of having made a difference. And with Mark by my side, I know we are just beginning to write our success story. The big twist comes unexpectedly and dramatically. I was in my office, reviewing some reports, when Clara knocked on the door. "Kate, can I talk to you for a minute?" she asked, with an expression that mixed seriousness and excitement. "Of course, Clara. Come in," I replied, setting aside the papers. She entered and closed the door behind her, showing a thick envelope. "We just discovered something very serious about Mr. Thompson." She placed the envelope on my desk and opened it, revealing a stack of documents. "What is that?" I asked, intrigued. "This is evidence that he forged documents and manipulated data to hide his incompetence and justify his mistaken decisions," Clara explained, as she slid some of the papers towards me. I leafed through the documents in disbelief. There were altered financial reports, manipulated emails, and graphs with falsified data. It was evident that Mr. Thompson had gone too far to cover up his faults. "That is terrible," I exclaimed. "What will we do now?" "I'm already forwarding everything to the board. They need to see this immediately. And considering the seriousness of the situation, he will almost certainly be transferred to a subordinate position in another branch, where he will no longer be able to harm anyone," Clara assured. The news quickly spread among colleagues. Mark was one of the first to reach out to me. "Kate, did you know?" he asked, with a satisfied smile on his face. "Yes, Clara just showed me the documents. It looks like we will finally have justice," I replied, feeling a mixture of relief and accomplishment. "You deserve this, Kate. After everything that's been through, it's good to see that the truth is coming to light," Mark said, placing his hand on my shoulder in a gesture of support. At the next board meeting, Clara presented the new evidence. The reaction was immediate. Board members were shocked and outraged by the extent of Mr. Thompson's manipulation. "This is unacceptable. We cannot allow someone like that to continue in a leadership position," said one of the directors. "I fully agree. We need to take immediate action," added another. The decision was unanimous. Mr. Thompson would be transferred to a subordinate position in a distant branch, where he would no longer have the power to harm employees or manipulate data. When he learned of the decision, his reaction was pure disbelief. "You can't do this to me," he shouted, but his voice no longer had the authority it once had. "I'm the boss here." "Not anymore, Mr. Thompson," Clara replied firmly. "Your actions have consequences, and now you will face yours." A few days later, the company organized a recognition ceremony. To my surprise, I was called to the stage. Clara took the microphone and announced, "Today, we are here to recognize the courage and contribution of Kate, who had the determination to expose the truth and help transform our workplace. She then handed me an award, a symbol of everything I had fought for. As I held the award, I looked at my colleagues, at Mark, and felt a rush of gratitude and accomplishment. The revenge was complete, but more than that, I finally found the peace and respect I always deserved. From that moment on, the company was on a new path, a path of integrity and respect, and I, Kate, was proud to be part of this transformation.